In Brazil, the first meeting of the joint Venezuela Guyana Commission was held on Thursday to address the issues related to the case of the Essequibo. The third Legislature of the Honduran National Congress takes office on Thursday for the period 2024-2026. And the French government on Thursday sought ways to end protests by farmers blocking motorways and demonstrating across the country after a fuel tax rise ignited long-standing grievances. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Brazil, the first meeting of the joint Venezuela-Guyana Commission was held on Thursday to address the issues related to the case of the Essequibo. The meeting was attended by Foreign Minister Ivan Gil, the Minister of Popular Power for Eco-Socialism, Josué Lorca Vega, and the agent in the International Court of Justice, Samuel Moncada, on behalf of Venezuela. While on behalf of Guyana, former Minister Hugh Hilton Todd and his team participated. During the talks, Venezuela and Guyana expressed their understanding of the commitment made in the Argyll Declaration for Dialogue and Peace, particularly the mandate given to the Joint Commission. Both countries presented their proposed agenda for the work of the Joint Commission, which will be analyzed at a new meeting that could also be held in Brazil. Ivan Gil reaffirmed that the region has the political will and all the necessary instruments to advance in its common project of fair social development in a peaceful and supportive environment. The President of Venezuela's National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, denounced on Thursday further details of the conspiracy plans against the country, which have counted on the complicity of local politicians and the approval of the U.S. government. Speaking from the Venezuelan National Assembly, Rodriguez pointed out that regarding the complaint filed by the Attorney General's office last Monday, the legislative branch will debate in order to take forceful actions against those who threaten the peace of the Republic. This is in reference to the claim made by Tarek William Saab, who on Monday recounted that a total of 31 people were arrested in Venezuela during the past year for allegedly being involved in 5 conspiracy plans that included the assassination of President Nicolás Maduro and assaults on military installations. In this opportunity, the President of the Venezuelan National Assembly denounced that all the military personnel who participated in these events were recruited by the CIA in Guaido's 2019 adventure and called on U.S. officials, in particular Brian Nicholson, to respond to these allegations.
They have a compulsion to repeat with Christmas, like the oil strike of the oil sabotage of 2002, the violent actions of 2003, the so-called last line of 2015, the guarimbas of 2017, and then the crazy hour and brutal that started in January 2019. And that generate the most serious aggression that the people of Venezuela have suffered in 150 years, is to generate a tone of concern that allows the perpetration of street violent plans, as it happened in 2019, 2020, and 2021.
The leader of the Venezuelan parliament assured that the sanctions against Venezuela are part of the destabilizing actions against the country.
They don't seek anything more than the sanctions would generate such as a level of suffering that would force the people of Venezuela to surrender, and exactly the opposite happened. As already pointed out by the Attorney General Tarek William Saab, the Deputy Diosdado Cabello spoke about the immense amount of testimonies confessions, evidence, cell phones that have talked a lot, exchange of conversation, exchange of opinions between these terrorists, these murderers.
Jorge Rodriguez stated that 20 denouncements of actions against the Constitution and the democracy have been filed.
In 2 years, we made 20 denunciations of extreme actions against the Constitution, against democracy, against the people of Venezuela, which included assassination in degree of frustration of August 4, 2018, which included the incursions from Colombia into Venezuelan soil, which included the landing of mercenaries in May 2020, which included plans for the assassination of the President of the Republic, of the Minister of Defense, of the first Vice President of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, of different leaders of the Bolivarian Revolution.
The third legislature of the Honduran National Congress takes office on Thursday for the period 2024-2026. The event was attended by the heads of the three branches of the government, who presented to the deputies reports on the actions carried out in their administrations during the year 2023. During her speech, Honduras President Xiomara Castro highlighted the clean and democratic process that has brought her to the highest position in the political power. The president also pointed out that the country is at a critical moment in history where the refoundation is not a slogan but an essential and imperative responsibility.
My political proposal for national refoundation is based on the principles of democratic socialism. And has emerged from the very heart, from the streets. I've been elected to political power through a true and clean democratic process.
On Thursday, visitors to Peru's iconic Machu Picchu site had their trip briefly interrupted by protesters angry with the government for privatizing ticket sales at the Inca Citadel. Tour operators and residents closed stores in protest and blocked the tracks of a tourist train, forcing those on board to walk the remaining 3 kilometers to the entrance. People are against the systematic privatization of Machu Picchu. A local group denounced that the company granted for the sale of tickets, Join Us, will earn up to $3.2 million per year in commissions. Community representative Darwin Baca told AFP that the people do not agree and that the company was illegally contracted. The Ministry of Culture said the protest had not seriously disrupted Thursday's tours.
The people, the organizations, the Cusco region asked that the contract with Join Us be cancelled as soon as possible because the people are taking drastic measures. Today they have closed their businesses. Let's not expect it to escalate. There is a strong mobilization of the people of Machu Picchu voluntarily closing the facilities. We have mobilized because we are enraged with the Ministry of Culture.
The United Nations Security Council met on Thursday to examine acts of violence committed by criminal groups in Haiti. The Council evaluated the reports updated by the United Nations Integrated Mission in Haiti and the United Nations Office Against Drugs and Crime in the last quarter of 2023. According to official reports, the departments of Oeste and Antibonito are the most affected by criminal groups that attack the population and the authorities in the area. The Commission recognized the challenge of reestablishing the control in the nation and putting an end to the expansion of armed gangs. The document states that registered homicides in 2023 increased by 119.4% over 2022. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In Palestine, at least 24 people were illegally detained by the Israeli occupation forces in the occupied Gaza territories and the occupied West Bank. The authorities affirmed that since last October 7th, the illegal detentions in the territory amounted to 6,285 and continue to increase after the Israeli incursions. The citizens denounced that the army of the Tel Aviv regime carries out raids on the homes of the families of the detainees, which are accompanied by looting operations and cause damage to the property. In Palestine, the Israeli army carried out the demolition of at least 1,100 buildings near the border to create a buffer zone. The project of the Israeli occupation seeks to create a 500-meter mine zone to guarantee the movement of its troops without risk of attacks by the Palestinian resistance. The idea of a buffer zone along the perimeter of the Palestinian territory is advocated by Israeli officials despite the rejection of the United States. This issue is one of several areas of disagreements between Tel Aviv and Washington, which the United States asserting that the administration does not want the Gaza territory to be reduced in any way. In Kenya, human rights activists that held a protest in solidarity with Palestinians on Thursday were hit with tear gas by police in Nairobi. Human rights activists in Kenya that held a protest in solidarity with Palestinians on Thursday were hit with tear gas by police. The protest came as the German foreign minister was in the country during her 4-day tour of Africa. Germany is a strong supporter of Israel's siege on Gaza, and it is set to intervene in the genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. The health ministry in Gaza says more than 25,700 people have been killed and another 63,000 wounded in the enclave since the beginning of the Israeli attacks. The Nairobi protest was dispersed by police and some of the activists were arrested.
Today was supposed to be a peaceful solidarity march, and yet there was a permit that circulated, at least in the in the poster for this protest, and we expected it to be a very peaceful affair where we show our solidarity, but what we have experienced today was not. Was pretty. We feel it was unfair. Like we were targeted with tear gas and threatening by the police, and some of our colleagues have been arrested.
On Thursday, Palestinian media highlighted the story of a girl who, just at 9 years old, is following the footsteps of renowned journalists like Wael al-Dahdoh. She is Lama Abu Jamos, tells the story of war-torn Gaza and the resistance of her people with a phone in her hand. Lama's family was forced to flee their home in Gaza City to Khan Yunis and then displaced to Rafah in the south. Her uncle says Lama showed a great talent for engaging in discussions from a very early age. When the war started, they realized that Lama had something to say when she picked up the phone and started blogging to talk about the situation in Gaza. Lama, whose father is also a journalist, started capturing what she was witnessing and living in the Gaza Strip with her mother's phone and uploading it to her Instagram page. Her blog has now more than 750,000 followers. Colombia asked on Thursday for help from the United Nations member countries to extinguish the forest fires that are raging in several regions of the country. The government of Gustavo Petro had already declared a natural disaster on Wednesday, which allows the transfer of resources for firefighting. A total of 31 outbreaks were active on Thursday in 5 regions of the country. At least 3 are burning in the mountain range surrounding Bogota, drowning the capital in smoke, affecting the operations of the capital's international airport and leading some schools to cancel on-site classes. The wave of fires is related to El Niño, a phenomenon associated with rising temperatures worldwide. Since November 3rd, when the phenomenon began, more than 300 forest fires have been recorded in 174 Colombian municipalities. The climate climate authorities IDM estimates that 87% of the country is at maximum risk of suffering fires. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news, coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The French government on Thursday sought ways to end protests by farmers blocking motorways and demonstrating across the country after a fuel tax rise ignited long-standing grievances. Newly installed Prime Minister Gabriel Attal summoned his economy, environment and agriculture ministers to confront his first crisis and decide on aid measures to fend off a possible blockade of the capital. The FNC union said that farmers blocked roads at 77 spots around France. Its Paris region section and the Young Farmers EAA called for a blockade of Paris. Elsewhere, hundreds of farmers blocked the M35 motorway near Strasbourg in the east, while farmers on the A1 motorway outside Lille, close to the Belgian border.
Our fight is directed at the agri-food industry and our cooperatives, because this distribution of margins is not fair. And today we can see the result of the agri-food industry, we can see the result of the big retails, and they all have results, double-digit growth. So this is important for us.
It's very uncertain, but I think today there are some who can't live on their salary. That's clear, or the results. Others are doing a bit better. But in my case, it's 400, 500 euros a month. That's about it, with endless hours and constraints.
Thousands of university students in Greece demonstrate in the center of the Athens against the privatization of universities. During the day, protesters marched near the main University of Athens and in front of the statues of the ancient Greek philosophers Plato and Socrates to demand the right to free education. The students claimed that the government should allow them to study regardless of their economic situation. In such a way, they add that the measure will harm public universities facing financial difficulties. The Greek government is facing protests from several professional groups due to the legislative reforms and the cost of living crisis. The Russian government on Thursday called the shoot-down of a plane carrying prisoners by Ukrainian forces a terrorist act. In this regard, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov pointed out that the action ordered by the Kyiv government was a monstrous act. In this way, Peskov recalled that the exchange of prisoners is a silent and agreed act aimed at warranting the lives of those who were part of the conflict. In this sense, the government of Vladimir Putin repudiated the fact that Ukraine killed 65 soldiers of its own troops and demanded an investigation by international organizations. On the other hand, Peskov added that this will probably affect the prisoner exchange agreement and also regretted the death of 9 Russian soldiers in the incident. In this context, on Thursday, at Moscow's request, the United Nations Security Council met to discuss the accusation against Ukraine of having shot down a Russian military transport plane in which 74 people, mostly Ukrainian prisoners of war, were killed. The plane's black boxes have already been recovered to be transferred to Moscow, where they will be examined in a Defense Ministry laboratory. Moscow's investigation is also based on the moments before the plane crash. Russian radar allegedly recorded the launching of 2 missiles from the Ukrainian region of Kharkiv, bordering Belgorod, according to an official statement from the Russian authorities. The theory has neither been confirmed nor rejected by Ukraine. The government of China on Thursday accused the United States of abusing international law with its military maneuvers in the Western Pacific a day after a U.S. naval destroyer crossed the Taiwan Strait. In this way, Defense Ministry spokesman Wu Xian stated that the activity of U.S. aircraft and warships at the gates of China is the root cause of all the problems between the two military powers. For his part, Wu Xian said the U.S. side should stop abusing international law, cease all dangerous and provocative behavior, and strictly restrict the activities of frontline troops. In this regard, the statements said that no member of the international community should be intimidated or coerced into giving up their rights and freedoms, and added that China is willing to resolve this issue through dialogue.
China has noticed that after the conclusion of the election in the Taiwan region, the U.S. has taken a series of negative moves, sending wrong signals to the Taiwan independence forces. These actions violate the One China principle and the provisions of the Three China-US Joint Communique and go against the repeated commitments by the US leaders not to support Taiwan independence, two Chinas or one China, one Taiwan, and not to seek to use the Taiwan issue as a tool to contain China.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.